Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the different variants of Burning Abyss that have been floating around recently. And the last time I did a video like this was around 7 months ago, so it's pretty outdated now. There are going to be some new decks here as well as some old ones, but I'm going to give some updated thoughts and feelings about them given the context of a new format. The first deck we're going to talk about today is Danger Burning Abyss. This is the standard Sekka's Light build, playing Nessie, Tsuchinoko, and Jackalope that's been seeing a lot of play the last few months. This one really relies on going into the extra deck, summoning a bunch of danger monsters as link materials to make Dinosaur Dragon. It really emphasizes OTKs going second. Ever since the banning of Snow, this deck has not been able to run Orbital Hydrolander, and so it relies significantly more on the extra deck than it used to. Also, again, slightly more on Borrelsword Dragon, Borlo Dragon, those kinds of cards as opposed to Beatrice, as the deck will be trying to win the very first turn it gets to play, the second turn of the game, try to kill the opponent right there. In order to supplement the Burning Abyss and Danger cards, this deck usually runs cards like Destrudo to go into Yazi, and from there Mare for link materials, or more recently some people have been trying the Orcust engine, just summoning Orcust Nightmare off of Mermaid, and then you go through a sequence of summoning a few different cards and you also end up with 4 link materials that way. There isn't too much I want to say about the deck, just because I think we should be pretty familiar with it at this point. There's a ton of deck profiles out there. There are lots of other people talking about it, so we're going to move on from there and talk about Chaos Burning Abyss. So this is very similar to Danger Burning Abyss in many ways. It is a Sekka's Light build. Not all of them run danger cards though. Essentially, if you're unfamiliar with Chaos, they are more or less defined by dark and light attribute monsters that banish from the graveyard to do something, usually summon themselves, summon something else, search something, whatever. So White Dragon, Wyverburster, and Black Dragon Collop Serpent are pretty much staple in this variant. You see those cards very frequently in the danger builds, but 100% in these sorts of builds. Also very common is Eclipse Wyvern, which can summon Search, Chaos Dragon Levianeer, and Dark Arm Dragon, 2 cards that are very popular in this deck. And probably the most recognizable piece of it is Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, which is a boss monster that saw a lot of play about a year ago, but has sort of fallen off in the standard Danger Burning Abyss build. It's making a comeback in Chaos Burning Abyss. I do think Chaos Burning Abyss is slightly inferior to the Danger build overall, but it does introduce a fairly fluid way of incorporating boss monsters back into the deck now that we don't have Orbital Hydrolander. Next, we're going to talk about Block Dragon Burning Abyss. So whereas Danger Burning Abyss and Chaos Burning Abyss have given up on Orbital Hydrolander and have found other solutions, whether it's sticking more to the extra deck of Borrelsword Dragon or reincorporating the Chaos boss monsters, this one wants to find a way to continue to play Orbital Hydrolander in the absence of Fairy Tail Snow. And so they're going to do that using Block Dragon, and so all of the dark attribute monsters, you only want 1 copy of each of them. If you're not familiar with Orbital Hydrolander, if for some reason you are newer to Burning Abyss, basically you need you can't have more than 1 copy of a monster with the same name in your graveyard to summon it, activate, or resolve its effect. So we're trying to minimize having multiples of the same monster. So 1 of each dark attribute monster, so 1 of each Burning Abyss, 1 of each danger. Maybe you have your 1 Edge of Sabers, maybe a Defrag Dragon, and that's pretty much it. And then you can run multiples of Earth attribute monsters like Phoenix Rhino, Gallus the Star Beast, Mathematician. Sometimes you throw in Glow Up Bulb or Dotscaper. Gigantes is pretty popular now. And the reason we can do this is because Block Dragon is going to banish our multiples of Earth attribute monsters from our graveyard so that we can continue to resolve Orbital Hydrolander. Block Dragon's pretty cool also because not only does it regulate our graveyard, if we send it to the graveyard as a link material, we can actually search rock type monsters, which are more than often not also Earth attributes. So some popular ones are like Gigantes and Rock Spirit. I'm a particular fan of Gigantes. Another option is going for Power Giant and Doki Doki. Whatever you go for, I think Block Dragon is a really fantastic card in general. If you can find a way to incorporate it into any deck, it's really cool. Kind of a bizarre one. Block Dragon's seen a lot of play in Gem Knights, but I never really imagined playing it in Burning Abyss, but it's pretty damn good. I'm not fully convinced that it's better than Danger Burning Abyss, but it is significantly cheaper. I think that this is the sort of essential, quintessential, perhaps is the better word, budget competitive Burning Abyss deck currently. I do think it has a lot of its own merits. Just being able to run Orbital Hydrolander sets it apart from a lot of other Link spam decks like Danger Orchist. So something that I think a lot of innovation is still lying in wait, and it's pretty good as it is now. You could definitely get your invite to WCQ with it. Now we're going to leave the realm of Sekka's Burning Abyss and look at the Phantom Knight build. So Phantom Knight Burning Abyss, or PK Fire, is an ancient build of the deck, been around forever, and it forgoes boss monsters pretty much entirely. It can make them, but it doesn't really focus on it so much as relying on trap cards. It really likes to set Fog Blades, spam, you know, Xyz monsters, but kind of smaller ones. I don't know if I would fully describe them as boss monsters relative to what we have in 2019, but things like Dante or the Phantom Knights of Breaksword, those kinds of cards. Plays a bit slower, a bit grindier. It lacks a lot of the explosiveness of the previous three decks that I've mentioned. I do think it is the weakest variant of Burning Abyss right now of all the ones I'm going to discuss currently. It does, however, benefit the most out of all of them from the release of Cherubini, the Burning Abyss Link monster we're getting in Dark Neostorm. But there's a lot of potential in the future for it. I think Cherubini makes their best going first boards more consistent. So I'm excited to try it out. Again, it lacks the explosiveness, and being able to play a grind game is not necessarily what you want to go for. This meta is a lot about kind of unbreakable, really strong boards. In addition to grindiness, I feel like Salamangrates just make better going first boards. You know, with Phantom Knights, you can make Rusty Bardiche and set 2 Fogblade. Well, Salamangrate have a counter trap, which is an Omni negate, and they also have an Icarus attack, and they can end on that consistently, regardless of what other things they open. So, Phantom Knight Burning Abyss, definitely not amazing. Something to consider looking forward, though. Next, Dinosaur Burning Abyss. We haven't seen this deck top in quite a while now. When we were seeing Dinosaur Burning Abyss decks kind of come out of the woodwork was, man, it's probably been 5 months now since we've really seen too many of them. It wasn't super popular, but I don't think that means it's bad. So this deck forgoes Sekka's Light in favor of cards like Double Evolution Pill and Fossil Dig to facilitate a Dinosaur engine, which ultimately wants to summon Ultimate Conductor Tyranno as its boss monster of choice. Now, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno can be a huge pain to deal with, being able to flip cards face down on your opponent's turn, and it can also attack all monsters on the field, or all special summon monsters, I don't remember. But regardless, it attacks a bunch and deals a whole bunch of damage, so it can be a very oppressive boss monster with a lot of one-turn kill potential. Really, really painful for a lot of decks to deal with right now. Not so much Sky Striker, but Salamangrate can have some difficulties if they get a bunch of their potential link materials flipped face down, and they're unable to link them away for anything. Main complaint with it, despite having such a powerful boss monster, is that it has some consistency issues. Most Burning Abyss variants right now are actually fairly consistent. Block Dragon Burning Abyss can be a little bricky, but Dinosaur Burning Abyss in particular, sometimes you just open cards that you can't do anything with. Double Evolution Pill and Overtex, as strong as they are if you open them in your hand without the right other cards, sometimes they can be a little mediocre or just flat out unusable. So that's the one major issue with the deck. Also, is Ultimate Conductor Tyranno ultimately better than other boss monsters you could be summoning? Maybe. I think that's definitely up for debate. And if you want to play Dinosaur Burning Abyss, I think that's the main question you have to consider before investing in it, taking it to a tournament. Is this boss monster worth giving up so much for? Giving up probably playing Dangers, giving up Sekka's Light, a lot of generically good cards that are very popular right now. And finally, the last variant, kind of big variant I'm going to talk about, is Infernoid Burning Abyss. So this deck's boss monsters of choice are Vieti and Onitsu, both incredibly powerful Infernoid monsters, 3000 attack. They can either negate a monster effect or spell/trap effect. Generally pretty oppressive if you can get multiple copies on the field. Decatron helps with that because it can copy their effect, so it may not have the 3000 attack, but it still has the negate. So if you're able to end on like a Beatrice and then an Onitsu and a Vieti, whether it's the actual cards or more likely it's a Decatron and one copy of the actual card, regardless, that is a much better going first board than a lot of these other decks can put up, especially the more common Danger Burning Abyss decks. Quite a bit of OTK potential. One of the big issues with Infernoid Burning Abyss is that it feels like it's pretty unexplored, actually. I don't think it hasn't been optimized yet. We're not even really totally sure, we being the community, I don't think we're even totally sure what the best approach to Infernoid Burning Abyss is, whether we want to stick with a Sekka's Light build, relying on Dante to mill Infernoids, or whether we want to ditch Sekka's Light and start playing cards like Void Imagination and Void Feast, or, you know, there are tons of other powerful spell cards that you can run alongside Infernoids. If you want to play Infernoid Burning Abyss, then you're going to have to do a little bit of innovation, probably, of your own in order to maximize your results. The other variants are fairly well established, but Infernoid Burning Abyss is a pretty big question mark. I do think the deck has a lot of potential right now, particularly because some of the smaller ones have the effect that they contribute. I forget if it's an Infernoid monster or just any monster. Regardless, they contribute themselves. And it's basically a DD Crow. It banishes a card from your opponent's graveyard. Pretty good this format. DD Crow as a card is a very popular hand trap, very effective against Salamangrates. I find that as a very encouraging reason why Infernoid Burning Abyss might actually be a pretty effective variant this format. Also seeing Lair Infernoid have some success. Hasn't topped a YCS, but it's been bubbling a lot. It's showing up at the regional level. So Infernoids in general, I think, are sort of a fringe deck right now. They're just outside the highest tier of the meta. So I don't think it's too big of a leap to say that Infernoid Burning Abyss could be really good going forward. Given that the right innovation happens, I think it's just going to take the right player to really take the time and do it right. So that's my list and some thoughts on all of them. Obviously this list is not exhaustive and there's tons of different tiny variations, some weird in-betweens. There's a guy I recently saw who was playing like a beast variant, which is pretty archaic and you don't really see it anymore, which is why I didn't really talk about it. But I think the next Burning Abyss video I do might be talking about tech cards, which would cover some of those tiny niches, kind of weird small variations between variants, just going over some popular tech cards. Tell me what you think. I might put up a poll since I now have access to the community tab since we passed 1,000 subscribers, asking if that's what you want, or maybe we'll talk about something else Burning Abyss related next. But even though Burning Abyss is not as good this format as it was in the last couple, I'm not going to completely give up on the deck, and I am for sure going to create many more Burning Abyss videos in the foreseeable future. Some exciting new stuff coming out. We have the Cherubini, we have the level 6 Chaos Monster. I think it's a Chaos Monster coming out in Dark Neostorm as well. Probably going to have to update this again, probably sometime after WCQ. And have fun playing Burning Abyss regardless of what variant you choose. I think they're all great in their own right. They all do unique and cool things. They appeal to different levels of budget. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.